Have you ever eaten a cookie when you weren't hungry? Not one cookie, 3 or 6, or an entire package while promising yourself after every bite that the next one would definitely be the last. If so, this story is about you and a very convincing liar. Imagine a perfectly ordinary evening. No emergency, no disaster, no hunger, just silence. You arrive home after a long day. You sit on the couch. The room is quiet, too quiet. For a moment, everything is peaceful. Nothing needs fixing. Nothing needs improving. Nothing needs chasing. But then something inside the brain becomes uncomfortable. A strange feeling begins to appear. A feeling that says, surely there should be something more interesting happening right now. Maybe a reward, maybe a treat, maybe a little excitement, maybe just one small thing to make this evening better. And then you see it, a cookie, golden, perfect, completely innocent looking, sitting quietly on a plate. What happens next seems almost automatic. The brain suddenly becomes interested, very interested. The cookie starts looking far more important than it did 30 seconds ago. You tell yourself it is just a cookie, and that is technically true. But the brain is no longer looking at a cookie. The brain is looking at a possibility, a promise. The possibility that the next few seconds might feel better than the current ones. So you take a bite, and for a brief moment, it works. The cookie tastes good. The brain celebrates. Everything feels slightly brighter, slightly warmer, slightly more rewarding. The promise appears to be true. Then something fascinating happens. The feeling begins fading almost immediately. Not completely, just enough. Enough to create a thought. Maybe another cookie would be even better. So you reach for a second one, then a third, then another. Each cookie arrives carrying the same promise. This one will do it. This one will finally deliver the feeling we are looking for. But the strange thing is that the excitement keeps shrinking. The first cookie felt magical. The second felt good. The third felt okay. The fourth felt necessary. The fifth barely registered. And suddenly, you find yourself standing in front of an empty package, wondering what just happened. The room looks exactly the same. Your life looks exactly the same. The silence is still there. And now, there are fewer cookies. Why does this happen? Because the brain often confuses two very different experiences: wanting and happiness. Most people assume they are the same thing. They are not. Wanting is the feeling that says, go get it. Happiness is the feeling that says, this is enough. The brain chemical dopamine is heavily involved in wanting. Dopamine is not primarily the chemical of pleasure. It is the chemical of pursuit, the chemical of anticipation, the chemical of maybe. Maybe this will help. Maybe this will feel amazing. Maybe this is exactly what I need. Dopamine is the treasure hunter of the brain, and treasure hunters are always focused on the next treasure, not the one they already found. That is why anticipation can sometimes feel stronger than the reward itself. The promise can become more exciting than the reality. And this doesn't happen only with cookies. It happens with phones, with shopping, with social media, with relationships, with online videos, with almost anything that whispers, just one more. The brain starts chasing a feeling that always seems to be slightly ahead, always one step further down the road, always waiting behind the next click, the next bite, the next purchase, the next achievement, the next distraction. And eventually, something becomes clear. The cookie was never the real target. The feeling was. The cookie was simply the vehicle, a surprisingly delicious vehicle, but still just a vehicle. If you look carefully, many cravings are not actually about food. Sometimes they are about boredom. Sometimes they are about stress. Sometimes they are about loneliness. Sometimes they are about restlessness. And sometimes they are simply an attempt to escape silence. That realization changes everything. Because the moment you see the real hunger, you stop blaming the cookie. The cookie was doing exactly what cookies do. The brain was simply asking it to solve a problem it was never designed to solve. Food can nourish us. Food can comfort us. Food can connect us to family and culture. Food can bring enormous joy. But food cannot permanently solve boredom. Food cannot create meaning. Food cannot eliminate loneliness. Food cannot provide lasting peace. Those are different hungers, and they require different nourishment. Sometimes the answer is connection. Sometimes it is movement. Sometimes it is sleep. Sometimes it is purpose. Sometimes it is simply sitting quietly long enough to notice what is really happening. And yes, sometimes it is